Wouldn't it be nice if English was an entirely phonetic language and there was zero ambiguity as to how we should pronounce a certain word? Hey guys, it's Victoria. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I post videos all about American English. So if you are interested in learning about pronunciation, stress, rhythm, linking, all those fun topics that make up the North American accent, then please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way YouTube will let you know when I've posted new videos. To my subscribers, welcome back, you guys. In today's video, I'm going to be addressing a topic that looks pretty straightforward, but is actually really troublesome even for my most advanced clients. And that, as you can see from the title, is the pronunciation of four words that are spelt kind of similarly and that actually are way trickier than they first appear. So those four words are were, where, and we're. Or is it we're? We'll talk about that. Now, in case you guys are wondering how it is that these words that appear to be pretty straightforward even cause trouble for my most advanced clients, I've narrowed it down to three primary reasons for which I think this is the case. The first reason is that oftentimes we have a tendency to look up how a word should be pronounced in the dictionary, and oftentimes with these words, native speakers actually don't pronounce the word as it's going to be written in a dictionary. The second reason is that sometimes you will just hear some natural variability among different speakers, which can be confusing because then you're thinking, well, this person says it like this, that person says it like that. Which is the correct way? Is there one correct way? And the third reason is because of sentence stress. So for some of these words, you're going to see that depending on whether I'm producing this word in a stressed or a non-stressed position, it is going to sound a little bit different. So first up, we have the word were. Were. So it's a conjugated form of the verb to be, as in, were you able to contact them yesterday? Yes, we were. Were you able to contact them yesterday? Yes, we were. So the word has four letters, but only two sounds. W, were, were. So the vowel itself is And some of my clients, instead of making this sound, they naturally make the vowel a little bit more complex than it should be, making it sound like air. So if you say where to a native English speaker, that may sound more like the word where, you live where, rather than this word were. One thing I want you guys to notice is that even though the sounds are the exact same, whether I'm stressing this word in a sentence or not, there is a little bit of an acoustic difference nonetheless. So when I'm saying, were you able to contact them? Yes, we were. There is more length and kind of acoustic clarity to yes, we were, when were is in its stressed form. The other thing that I want you guys to be aware of is, again, this whole concept that English is not spelled how we pronounce it. So the word were, W-E-R-E, rhymes with many short words that are spelt totally different than it, but the sounds are in fact the same. So take the word sir, S-I-R, exact same vowel sound, were, sir, were, sir. Or the word turn, T-U-R-N, again, same exact vowel sound. Another good rhyme for the word were is the word your, and that is the reduced form of the word your. So, were you able to contact your friend? I'm not saying your friend because I'm reducing your, and then it's a perfect rhyme with were. Were you able to see your friend? Were you able to see your friend? Were, your. So next up, we have the word where. Where. So in its full form, that's exactly how I pronounce the word where. So the vowel is air. Air. It is more complex than the vowel we just saw in the word were. So listen to my vowels side by side. Air. Air. In the verb, not in the verb, in the vowel air, I'm actually combining two vowels to make it a complex vowel. So this is really, really important to distinguish the words were from where. So as I'm saying the word in its full form, that's how you're going to hear the word in a sentence if it's being stressed. So for example, if I'm saying, you went where, and the stress of the whole sentence falls on where, you're really going to hear it in its full form, acoustically as interesting as it can get. If, however, I put that word in a non-stressed position, then you'll hear that the sound is a little bit different. It sounds less tense, it's a little bit shorter. So if I said, where are you going? Where are you going? Versus, you went where? You went where? Other than the length, you will hear that acoustically, it's a tiny bit different. And if you're having trouble hearing that, then I suggest you go back a few seconds in the video and slow down your YouTube playback speed to say 75% so that you can have a little bit more time to hear this difference. Now, believe it or not, there are two more ways that you may hear this word pronounced. So the first is instead of where, to hear where. Where. So I have friends that are both Canadian and American that instead of where, say where. I think it primarily depends on where you're from. So in certain regions, where is more popular, and that is really because the vowel air is less popular in those regions than the vowel air. They're really, really similar sounding vowels. They're both a combination of two simpler vowels combining to form a complex R vowel, but the acoustic properties of them are obviously a little bit different. So that's just one more way that you might hear that word produced. So instead of you went where, you might hear someone say, you went where? You went where? That's not supernatural for me, but it's definitely something that you'll encounter. And the third way that you may hear this word pronounced is super rare. However, I didn't want to leave it out because it's something that I've personally encountered in my life, even though it's not very common nowadays. So instead of where, you may hear someone pronounce this word as where. Where. Now, back in the day, there were many regions across North America that had this distinction between words that were spelt with just W at the beginning or WH. So the WH words, like where, were acoustically a little bit different for individuals to be able to differentiate the word. Obviously, nowadays the context allows us to differentiate the word, but in isolation, back in the day, if I said where or where, the spelling would immediately be apparent. So back in the 90s, some prominent linguists went to these areas where that distinction actually existed, the where, and they interviewed individuals and they asked them, do you actually differentiate how these words are produced? So back in the 90s, I think 17% of the people in which that distinction was prevalent in their area responded that they did use that distinction. So still a significant minority. However, depending on where you live, it is something that you may hear. In my life personally, I've only ever met one person that said what and where. She was American, and I don't remember where she was from, but I think she had lived in many parts of the US. So it would be hard for me to tell you guys exactly where she picked up that pattern, but it is something that you may hear a native speaker doing for the word wear. Next up, we have the verb to wear, as in I'm wearing a top. So this word, naturally, I say just like the word wear, the word we just saw, when it's in its full form. Wear, wear. They're identical. They both have the vowel air. And just like I told you guys about in the word where, I slightly pronounce this differently depending on whether it's in the stressed position of a sentence or not. So listen to these two sentences. If I said, what are you gonna wear? I'm gonna wear a dress. What are you gonna wear? I'm gonna wear a dress. If you again slow it down, you can hear that acoustically there is a tiny difference. Again, primarily between how much tension is coming into this vowel. But in general, whether you're stressing it or not, it's pretty much the same air sound. For this word as well, you may hear some regional variability, exactly like the one we saw for where, because of that vowel simply existing differently in some regions. So instead of what are you going to wear, you may hear certain native speakers say, what are you going to wear? What are you going to wear? So that sounds more like my reduced version of where, but again, both are absolutely fair game and you will hear them both. Finally, our last one, we have the word weir. Weir. And I think this one is the most misleading of them all. And this is where I see the most mistakes come out among my clients. So if you were to look this word up in the dictionary, W-E', of course, it's the contracted form of the words we are. The dictionary would tell you that this word is pronounced weir, as in rhyming with ear or hear. However, because it's by definition the reduced form, that's typically not how it's going to be said in a natural sentence. So it's really tricky, right? You look up a word and you're trying to say it correctly, and then when you try to use it in a sentence, it totally doesn't work because it disrupts your sentence stress. So instead of pronouncing this word as weir, typically we're going to hear it as were. Word number one that we saw today. So two sounds, were. We're going to have a great weekend. We're going to have a great weekend. Because in that sentence, for example, I'm stressing the word weekend way, way, way more than I'm stressing the word were, which is an unimportant word. It would be unusual to hear someone say, we are going to have a great weekend, because that implies that you're stressing the word we are, we're, and there's no reason for that given most contexts. The exception to this would be if you're contrastively stressing something. So let's say you say to your friends, let's say you're both heading to the same event, and you call them up and you're like, whew, we're running really late. We're running really late. It would be most natural to reduce we're to were. However, let's say your friends are like, well, how late are you going to be? And you say, we're going to be an hour late. And then they could reply with, oh, no, we're running really late. We're going to be 4 hours late. So in that specific instance where it's appropriate to contrastively stress the we're word, then it could work. But there are very, very few situations in which we hear that naturally come up in speech. So that's all for today's video, you guys. I hope this was really helpful in clarifying all the different variants of were, where, and we're, or were, as we see that it's most often used. If you guys think that any of your friends would find this video helpful, then I would super appreciate if you would share it with them, and I'll see you next time. Bye!